Hello, everyone. Welcome to this small talk on monitoring machine learning in clinical use as part of the CDI series AI and Data Science track. I'm Dr. Vidur Mahajan. I lead research and development at Caring here in New Delhi. These are my declarations. So today we'll learn about the importance of real-time monitoring of AI in clinical use. We'll learn about some strategies to monitor AI in clinical environments, and then also learn about how a platform approach can help enable seamless AI deployment and monitoring in clinical practice. Monitoring of AI deployments is critical for confident and error-free AI usage. There are essentially two rationale for why you should monitor. The first is the clinical rationale. You can, by monitoring AI, prevent critical slip-through errors during deployments. The idea here is to catch those blunders that might be made by some deep learning algorithms and intervene before reports actually get issued to patients or before the error can have any kind of um, bad outcome. The second is you can identify patterns around failed cases and preempt such future failures. For example, you might realize that a specific type of X-ray machine may not work well using a specific type of X-ray algorithm, and thereby by not running cases through that X-ray machine, you can preempt future failures. The same thing may occur to confounding disease variables and other things like body structure, etc. And lastly, you can build confidence and create boundaries for seamless AI deployment. I think clinician trust in AI is one of the most key aspects of AI deployment, which can only be built by monitoring of AI. And secondly, you need to create boundaries. So as you monitor AI, you will realize that there are certain aspects of AI or certain aspects of studies that AI works well on. For example, you might realize that one type of AI algorithm works better for IPD versus another that works better for OPD. Secondly, is the technical rationale. This is to detect and mitigate model decay and identify its cause. Again, you may have a model performing to a certain degree, running in a hospital, and then after some time there might be a decay in model performance. And by monitoring, you can identify that cause and rectify it. And also, and maybe most importantly, monitoring enables you to provide failed cases, cases that are false positives or false negatives, to model developers to in turn help them improve models. So essentially provide feedback on models. Monitoring can be done either at the user's end or the developer's end. So what this means is one aspect of monitoring is when a model is being monitored at the deployment site within the hospital or the health system it's deployed. So you have your images coming in from your modalities, going into the packs. From the packs, the images go to the model deployment servers. Inferencing is done, results come back, images are seen by the radiologist, appropriate results are put on the RIS, and then we have a model monitoring server that gets inferences from the model servers and the so-called ground truth from the RIS. And then anyone can look into this model monitoring server and determine what the performance of the model is. On the other hand, model developers may choose to run random sampling, as we recommend 5% random sampling of all inferences done across your entire install base. And this is then followed by blind labeling of these scans or blind annotation of these scans. And this then goes into a model monitoring server that can then be reviewed by someone at the model developer's end. At both these instances, the whole idea is to determine what we talked about here, which is prevent clinical slip-through errors, identify patterns, and build confidence. Now, models also need to be monitored based on their outputs and use cases. There are a few types of models. We'll quickly go through them. The first and most common type of deep learning model or machine learning model out there are called classification algorithms. These are algorithms which determine whether a specific finding is present or not in a study, let's say tuberculosis or pneumonia. And these are typically measured using sensitivity, specificity, AUC, and similar summary statistics. Localization algorithms are those algorithms which also specify where the specific finding is present on the study. For example, a pneumonia on the left upper lobe, typically represented by a bounding box. For this, metrics such as LROC or localization ROC or clinical explainability failure may be used. Then we have segmentation algorithms that are algorithms that mark out boundaries of specific findings. So in the localization, you are only marking the location, whereas in segmentation, you are marking the actual boundary of the output. And this, we have seen commonly used metrics to measure segmentation accuracy are dice score and Jaccard index. And then there are super resolution algorithms that take a certain type of medical image and convert them into another. Most common use case, at least discussed nowadays, is that of taking a low resolution MR image, say an MRI image from a permanent magnet, and convert that into a high resolution MRI image. The metric used here is SSIM, which is Structural Similarity Index. It's important to know that blind reviewing of scans is very critical. The radiologists who are reading the scans for the purposes of monitoring should not be exposed to the AI outputs, since that can lead to their bias in their interpretations. A platform approach, and this is a screenshot of Carpal, the platform we have developed, allows you to integrate data, AI outputs, ground truths, and statistical analysis onto a single platform, allowing the user to very quickly build insight about the performance of an algorithm. So here you see the ROC curves, the summary statistics, and a dot plot that enables you to change the classification threshold to play around with the sensitivity and specificity. Once you have all of this data, you can also create one-click validation reports with automatic reporting of false positives and negatives that can be shared with the developers of the models in case needed. We have also integrated bias and fairness estimation using the Equitas package, which again runs a battery of tests to determine whether the test set or the model are biased towards specific findings or specific subgroups. This is a real world example of work that we've done where we noticed that over long-term monitoring of AI, and this is the daily area under curve reported for an algorithm, we noticed that after 3 weeks of running, the AUC started falling. And once we dug deeper, we realized that that was because an X-ray scanner was changed at a particular customer site, which impacted the overall AUC of the algorithm. So such is the importance of real-world monitoring of AI. In conclusion, with widespread deployment of AI, its monitoring becomes even more critical, as you've seen. Choosing the appropriate metric is extremely important, and one has to go deep into what the algorithm is actually doing to figure out what the appropriate metric for monitoring may be. And lastly, a platform approach, at least we believe, that integrates the data, inferencing, ground truth, and also validation statistics is essential and key for the easy monitoring of AI. With that, I thank you for your attention.